All right, so you got your first project, so you got something to work on. Um, you can find the instruction to be here under Introduction to Node.js plus Express. And I know I flipped Express and Node.js, it really doesn't matter. So this one, the first one looks like a quiz, but it actually does contain a lot of instructions. So I suggest you to kind of go through this slowly and take notes at the same time. The second one is more like just a way for you to submit a link so that I know you're ready, uh, so that I know that your app is ready for grading purposes. All right, so let's go into the first one and see what it looks like. And I'm going to take a preview mode so it looks kind of like what you would be seeing. Question number one is really just a whole bunch of terms and definition of terms. And you have to do a little bit of a Google search to find out what is the protocol that is usually associated with port 80. Question number two starts with some background. It kind of explains, why we have this rather convoluted way to get the project started. This is a one-time thing. Once we get it, configured, we don't have to worry about it again. So this is the background, which is kind of useful if you want to understand the, uh, how browsers and how servers work. The second part is actually a process. Um, and it also kind of illustrates what Express can do. So there's a lot of explanation here. And then we get to the question. So the question is really kind of testing whether you understood the text that is earlier or not. So the most important part is not even the question. So the last one is really just text. Okay, it's just a whole bunch of instructions of what you need to do to set up the project. So I'm going to go back, rewind, and start a little bit slower. So here's a file that you have to download onto your personal computer. You can be using Windows, you can be using Linux, you can also be using Mac OS. It doesn't really matter. So what you want to do is to click, not right click, but click on this link here. It opens up a new page, and then on the second page that it opens, then you right click on download express.tar.gz, and then select save link as or save file as. Each browser has a slightly different way to call this. I use Firefox, so I click save link as, and it shows me where I can save it, and I'm going to save it into my temp folder, which you don't have in Windows. You just have to remember where you save it so that you can later on get back to that location. And I click save, and since I already have it saved once already, I just have to specify replace. There we go. Alright, so once we have that file, next thing is we have to file transfer express.tar.gz to your account on the Power Server. For that purpose, I am going to use Filezilla. So let me fire up Filezilla. Alright, so move it into the view so that you can see the entire thing. Have to resize it a little bit too. There we go. Uh-oh. There we go. Alright. And it comes with a little welcome message like this. Okay, you can click on these links here, or you can just click OK. Alright, so it has two sides. One side is your side, the PC, the local side, so to speak, see, local site. And then the other one is the remote site. Now, I have not signed in yet, so we have to go ahead and sign in. The host is going to be power.arc.los3os.edu. The username is kind of dependent on your name. It is your full last name plus your first initial. And if I remember correctly, no one needed a digit after that, but I could be wrong. And the password hopefully is your updated password, because your student ID is not exactly very secure. And here we, instead of using quick connect, all right, so let's specify port 22 and see if automatically understands this is SSH. All right. And as soon as I click Quick Connect, it pops up this dialog box to see whether I want the program to remember my password. As a general security measure, do not have your password saved by any app. So I'm going to click Do Not Save Password. So maybe worst thing is I just have to retype my password every single time. It's not that big of a deal. All right. And now it has connected. You can see on the local side, I'm in my home folder. On the remote side, I'm also in my home folder. Next thing we need to do is to find where I stashed express.tar.gz. So if you remember, it is in the temp folder. So I have to go to the temp folder, which is down here. There we go. And click on expanded and go ahead and see if I can find the file. These are all just uh, folders. I'm not sure it will list the file. No, it does not list the files. So I need to look into that folder to find the file that I need that I want to upload to the other side, or file transfer to the other side. So that one has a name of express.tar.gz. So you can basically just start typing in the window to quickly locate the file that you want to transfer. So this is indeed the file that I want to transfer. So just click it once. I believe you can drag and drop onto the other side like this. Okay, let me double check. There we go. Now it has transferred. So you have to drag it directly onto the folder icon. And now I can double check to see whether it is here or not. And it has a file name of express.tar.gz. So the file has now been transferred and one step is done. So I have no further use of Filezilla, so I can close it. There we go. So I don't really need to read my own instructions because I obviously know how to do it. So we are going to perform the second step, which is to quote unquote untar the express.tar.gz file. To do that, you need to use PuTTY or a dumb terminal. I can use either one. Here's a dumb terminal, or I can use PuTTY. So you can kind of make it. This makes it a little bit more relatable to how most people are going to do this. So we will sign into the Power Server, and we click Open. Okay, it's using a tiny little window, font again. So I'm gonna show you guys how to change the font size permanently so that you don't have to, keep changing the font size. I don't have to keep changing the font size, right? Alright, so let's do that one more time. So now we go to Appearance and it's under Fonts, and then we click on font used for ordinary text. We click on Change, and then we go ahead and select a resizable font. I'm going to pick free mono. Well, I think last time we decided not to do that, right? So I think last time we chose Liberation Mono. There we go. And we chose, let's pick 14. Okay, that's a pretty good size. And then we click OK. Okay, so now here's the important part. Because if I don't save this session, it's going to reuse the default font size, which is really, really small. So what I want to do is to specify quote unquote a session, and to save a session you just have to give it a name, and I'm just going to call it big font. Okay, so big font is the name, and if I click, it's okay to also specify the host, so this way I don't have to retype that too. So now that I have chosen my font size, type in the host name, and specified the session name, I can now click Save. There we go. And you can see how big font is now one of the sessions. Now what I'm going to do is to close this again and restart it. So this way I can show you that you can retrieve the old settings by choosing a session that you have saved. So now it would be big. We click on big font, click load, and you can see how power.arc.lowesreels.edu automatically loads. And when we connect, you will also see that we are going to use the larger font. So click open, and here's the window. The font size is reasonable. I wouldn't say it is like the best, but it works. So here's my name and my password, and now we have signed in. Um, the color doesn't work out very well. That's also configurable. So instead of doing it this way, let me show you the other way to do this. If you're using Linux or Mac OS, you can just type SSH and then your username at power.arc.lowesreels.edu. So the command line version of SSH is actually more handy in a way because you can combine the username and the name of the server onto one single command. Press the enter key, same thing, just type in your password, and now we have signed in. And this is more readable because the color of the font is better. All right, so first thing first, okay, we want to double check to make sure the file is in fact here. So ls will list the content of a folder on the in the command line interface, so we can see that express.tar.gz is in fact here. Next thing we need to do is to decompress that file. So tar stands for tape archive, and this is how computers were backed up onto tape reels in the good old days. So we still use the utility program, that is kind of a leftover, but the way we use it right now is kind of more like a zip file, except the file format is different. To extract the file the files and folders within express.tar.gz, we use xzvf. The homework actually contains the explanation of what each letter is representing, so I'm not going to repeat that here. So we type in express.tar.gz and then press the enter key. This is what you should see. Okay, we should be uncompressing, or we should be extracting the Express folder that has two files in it. One file is called .port, and the other file is called express.js. All right, so to do what we need to do, we're going to change to the Express folder, which is here. And there's only one thing you need to do. There's only one thing you need to edit in order for this to work. It is the .port file. So I'm going to use nano because most of you are going to use nano. So nano shows that the number in the .port file is 41200. What your number is supposed to be is already posted in Canvas. Let me do this. Okay, I don't want to lose track of my homework. So I'm going to open up a new tab and move it next to the original tab. So if you go to port number assignment, all you have to do is to look up your name and find out what port number you're supposed to use. So my name is right here, and that's why I'm supposed to use 41220 as my port number. Everybody in this class has a unique port number, so no two people should be sharing the same port number. And if somebody is using your port number so that your program doesn't work, let me know. I will kill that process for you. Alright, so getting back to what we were doing. So make sure that this port number is correct based on what we just looked up. Once it's correct, then you go ahead and type Control X to exit the editor. I didn't make any changes, so there's no need to save anything. And that's it. That's all you need. What do we do now? Well, once you have the port number specified correctly, you can now give it a try. So we say node express.js. Now remember, to do this successfully, you will have to be inside the Express subfolder. So your working directory, your current working directory has to be in the Express subfolder. You press the enter key, and it didn't like it. It didn't like it because I already got one process up and running. So let me cancel that first. Okay, I'm going to kill that process first. PM2 delete 0. That will work. Okay, so we'll get to PM2 later. Okay, this is a pretty nifty utility. So now that that process is killed, I should be able to do this now. Yep, okay. So if you type node express.js and nothing happens, nothing seems to happen, this is a good sign, okay? This is a good sign. This means your Express app is up and running and is ready to accept connections. So now what you do is you go to a browser. Any browser would do because we are not doing anything that is browser specific. So you want to go to https colon slash slash. You cannot see what I'm typing because I'm typing beyond what the window is showing. But I'll show you the URL in an editor in just a little bit. Give me a little bit of time here. This instruction is also included in the notes or in the assignment, so that should be nothing new here. All right. So I'm going to copy the URL, but I'm clicking the URL. Oh, okay. So it doesn't like it. Service unavailable. Maybe I mistyped something. No, I did not mistype anything. Oh, okay. Let me show you what the URL looks like first. Yep, I tested all of this earlier, and of course, by the time I need to demonstrate it, it doesn't work. Even Bill Gates and Microsoft is not spared by this sort of thing. All right, so this is the URL that I typed in. HTTPS slash slash colon slash slash power.arc.losrios.edu slash express slash, and then this part obviously depends on your last name and your first initial, and then with a final slash right there. So this is correct, and why is it not working? Well, let's find out. Well, this is mysterious. All right, so this is a good time to show you guys how to troubleshoot. See, when things don't work, hey, we still got a way to utilize the opportunity. So the way it reports back is the server is temporarily unable to surface your request due to maintenance downtime or capacity problem. Please try again later. So what you need to do next is to see whether it's a problem with your page or whether the server is down entirely. So now we go open another page just to go to the Power Server, but the Power Server is up and running, not a problem with the Power Server itself. So we know now that the problem is specific to the page that I am trying to get to. All right, so I'm fairly sure that is correct. Um, let's see. The port number is 41200. I might have used the wrong port number. Okay, let me double check because that's one thing that we have looked into a little bit earlier is the port numbers. Oh, okay, I got it. So it's my problem, right? Because I forgot that it's supposed to be 41220. Okay, so that was my fault. And we go back, and then we change the port number. Oh, I could use NVIM, but I want to use Nano because that's what most people in this class are going to use. So it's 41220. Yep, there we go. Alright, so Control X to exit, tell it to save the buffer, and then press the Enter key to accept the file name. And now we have to just restart it. Alright, so if you're just doing a quick test to see whether it works or not, it is perfectly okay to run node express.js and then press the Enter key. This is perfectly okay if you just want to test a few things quickly. So now we go back to the browser and go back to the page where it complained earlier and then refresh it. And this time it says, hello world. Cool. All right. So this is good, right? And then we go back to the terminal here. But the question now is, what do I do now? Because in order for your web page for me to grade, in order for me to grade your app, it needs to be up and running when I grade it. But if you try to exit the program, which is pretty easy, Control C, if you type Control C on the keyboard, it is going to kill the process and return you to the command line. And at this point, if you just do a Control D or type exit or type logout, it will log you out of the SSH session. But that means your browser is down, right? Because right now, if I go back to the same page and refresh it, it complains again because it says, hey, where's the server? I killed the process. Okay, I killed the process earlier. So now we have a question of, all right, what do we need to do to keep it up and running? This is where PM2 comes in handy. PM2 is a process management tool, and what you do is you just have to say PM2 start express.js. Now, if you just specify express.js, you have to run this command when you are inside the folder of express, because otherwise it doesn't know where to find the script. So this is just a little restriction that you have to observe. So when you press the enter key, it will give you a colorful feedback that Express as a process has started. It has an ID of 0. It is online and it's using up 22.5 megabytes of memory. Not too shabby, right? And if you really want to double check, you can always type PM2 status and it will show you that same thing, right? And it has just used up a little more memory like that. And then I can now go back to the browser, refresh the page, and it is up and running. So I want to give it a test and see if I sign out, if I log out from Power, would that web page continue to run? So I say log out, press the enter key. Now I'm back to my local machine. And going back here, I can do another refresh, and it's still up and running. Isn't that great? Yeah, I thought so too. So now we go back in. Okay, I'm going to log back into the Power server and change to the Express subfolder. And this time I go like, what if the system reboots? Okay, occasionally I do have to reboot the server for one purpose or another. So when the server reboots, it does not automatically restart your app, which is a problem because how am I going to grade your project if it is not up and running? So this is when we need to use another tool called cron tab. So cron tab -e is the command that you need to use, and what this does is it helps to not it doesn't help, but it actually configures the system to run certain jobs at a certain time. So if this is the first time you run it, it will default automatically to use nano, which is great. Okay, I don't want it to default to anything else. So what you need to do is to go to the end of the file, find an empty line, the pound sign or comments. So just leave all those lines as is. And then at this point, you just type add reboot. And this is special because add reboot, doesn't specify a specific time, hour in terms of hour, minute, month, and day of week, and so on. It just specifies whenever the system reboots, I want this to run. And what we want to run is starting with a CD express. So we change folder to the express subfolder, and then a semicolon to separate the first command from the second command. And then the second command is just what we typed earlier, which is pm2 start express.js. And once we have specified the command, now we can save the file, which is Control X to exit to save the buffer, yes, and then press the enter key to actually save this file. And this complaint is okay. It's not going to cause a problem. And we want to double check, okay? Cron tab -e again, and also just scroll all the way down to the last line, and we can see what we typed in is still here. So that's good. Just double checking. So with this, your script is going to automatically restart whenever the system reboots. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I need to sign in to restart my app. Nope, this is going to be automatic. And remember, I just signed out and then signed back in. So now is a good time to check, do I still have it up and running? PM2 status, and it is still up and running, which is great. All right, so let's just say that you have to make some changes to your program, and you want, if you don't restart the process, it will keep running the old version. So you have to restart it to update the running process to make use of the updated program file. So let's make some changes first, okay? And I will explain express.js in time, okay? Because right now I just want you guys to understand the process of how to get a file onto the server, how to start it, how to make sure that it automatically start after reboot, and so on. So we'll explain the actual program on a different day, on maybe next day, tomorrow. Um, right. So we want to take a look at the express.js program. And there's a lot of mumbo jumbo, but what I really want to change is really the message that is printing out, which is right here. And I want to put in parentheses from tech. So this way I am making some changes, right? And then I save the file, Control X, save yes, say yes to save the buffer, and then press enter to use the name that is suggested here. And now I go back to the browser and refresh it, and it keeps printing just hello world. What about from tech? Ah, I have changed the script, but I did not restart the process. So every time you want the change to take into effect, you have to restart the process. So now the question is, how do we restart the process? You'll probably say, yeah, I kind of knew that, tech. You don't have to say it. It's PM2 restart express.js. That's it. Okay, and in this case, you can just say restart Express, because when you say restart Express and Express is already a process in the system, it will just go ahead and restart it. It knows that it needs express.js as a file. So we press the enter key, and it says this is not something that we have to worry about. So it does mention applying action restart process ID on app, and it is now restarted. Now, how do we confirm it has restarted? We go to the browser, refresh it, and this time it says from tech. Yay! So from here on, I think it is just a generally good idea to use PM2 to keep your app up and running, unless you have a good reason to stop it. So what if you want to stop it, right? What if you don't want to restart it and you just want to stop it because you're making some heavy duty changes and you don't want anyone to be messing around with your page or your database, which we'll get into later. It's not really rocket science. You just say PM2 stop Express. Once again, Express is referring to the name of the process, and you press the enter key. Now the app has stopped. How do we know it has stopped? We go to the browser, we refresh, and it complains the service is unavailable. So let's just say that you're now done with your changes and you want to start it again. Well, I don't think this is going to be a big question now, right? Because all you have to do is to say start. I think restart would actually work too. So even if a process has stopped already, restart probably will work. There we go. So after the restart, you go back to the browser and refresh, and it is back up running. All right, so this is how I would like your app to be like, okay, to be running all the time, especially after you quote unquote submit it, okay? Let me show you what I mean by submitting it. There we go. So the first part is pretty easy. This is just a quote unquote quiz that only has 2 questions, okay? And the last one is called a spacer, which means it is not even a question. This part here that contains all of the really useful instruction It's not even a question. It's just really step by step with some screenshots. And instead of using the screenshots, you can also refer to this video because I just showed you guys how to get the whole thing to work. And it also explains how to use PM2, how to get a help, how to use cron tab, what to put into cron tab. Now in this exercise, I specifically name the project, project one, which is if you don't do that, it will just get the name from the file name itself without the extension. But you can always give it a custom name if you want to. So that part is optional. So you don't need to specify dash dash name project one or whatever name you want to call it. If you just want to call it Express, it's not a problem. Just use the default here and it's going to work. Alright, so how do I know that you got this part work up and running? Right? Because I need to make sure that you guys can get this part running by next Monday. So the way I do that is I will ask you to submit the URL in a different homework link. So this is a homework link where you can just submit the URL to your specific project. So let's click on it and see what it looks like. So there's a little bit of brief instruction here, and I just click on Start Assignment, which is only going to ask you for a web URL. So what you need to do, okay, instead of typing the whole thing, why don't we just kind of go back to this page here. You cannot see where my mouse is. It's over at the URL bar, and I'm just doing copy. And then I go back here, paste the whole thing, and then click Submit Assignment. Now, if you do have any comments, go ahead and leave it here. I will read your comments. So, if you do have any comments, just type it here before you click Submit Assignment. And once you submit assignment, that is signifying to me that it's ready for reviewing. Okay, so I can click on that link, review whether your hello world is up and running or not. You don't even have to say from whom. Okay, you just have to get the hello world part to work, and if it works, I'll give you the points. Only 2 points. I mean, but everything adds up eventually. So that's it. Sounds easy because I have done this many times, but it will take you some time. And once again, I think it's a good idea to take notes as you perform these steps. Okay, especially once it works, right? Once you perform the step and it works, you might want to jot down, what command you were using, what it's for, and so on. And using an electronic mean to keep track of your notes is even better because you can type. Most people can type faster than they can handwrite, and you can also just copy and paste those really long URLs. If you do a Google search on certain things and you find some tutorial to be really helpful, put it into your notes too. So that's all I have for now. So we officially have our first assignment at this point. If you do have any questions, you can always contact me by using Canvas. Just go to People and then go to Me and then message me over this way. But it is better, I think it's always better to use Discord, because with Discord direct message you can do screenshots, we can do voice chat, and there's a whole lot of different ways to communicate on Discord. So please sign up a Discord account and use my server invite to join the server, and it's just a really good effective communication platform in my opinion. Alright, so I'm going to stop recording now so that you have time to get started with this assignment. It is due next Monday, right before midnight, so you have up to the entire Monday, next Monday, to get this done. Alright, but don't procrastinate because there are many steps involved. It does take time to get used to the whole thing. Alright, I'm going to stop recording, get this uploaded, and then send the YouTube link to all of you.